We finished Lemuria and we hit level 150, which is weird to me. Seeing Paragon level 150 Storm is still pretty weird. Doesn't feel like the max level in this game is actually 150 now. Well, it will be once this comes to Live Realm. But Testrum is still out, and they're going to be closing this down tomorrow for the week because it is, the week of Thanksgiving. So they will be closing it early. And I'm guessing the week after that, they'll probably push it to Live Realm at some point. So we're getting really close to the end of Test Realm. But I wanted to look at one of the crafting vendors that they added because they do have all the gear that is the best that Lemuria has to offer. Is it better than Dragoon? Well, we're going to go over it piece by piece, at least all the pieces of my Storm gear for Dragoon, and compare it to the new gear. So the crafted gear that is offered by the vendor over here, Perry, is the same gear that you can get dropped from the final boss. So you could just farm it from the final boss if you want to, or you could go here. Okay, since we're by a fountain, you're going to hear that the whole video. I might have to mute sound effects. At least you get the music, though. The music's really nice. I like the music here. Sky City is probably one of my favorite areas of Lemuria. I just think it's a nice looking area, nice music. So here we go. We have all the hats. So I'm just going to go over all of these quick in case anyone wants to screenshot it or take a look at whatever school you want. But we're going to focus on Storm because I do want to compare the Storm stats. So here we go. Dragoon versus Demiurge. I think that's how you pronounce that. That's what the hats are all called. Are they all? Yeah, everything is called that. So we have the Temper Helm, which gives a little less health, 1% more power pip, some more shadow rating, less accuracy, which could end up being a big deal. You get 1 extra pierce, you get less crit, because I feel like all these are going to give less crit because crit isn't as big of a deal anymore, but you do get 3 extra damage. So the one thing you are going to be giving up if you equip this helm versus Dragoon is the Mass Storm Trap, which I actually use. This is a nice spell to have. It's 0 pips. Put a Storm Trap on everyone. Instead, you get Guiding Light, which don't know how useful that would be for a Storm. Probably not that useful. Maybe if you want to use the new Healing Current. I don't know. But the other big thing is you're going to be losing this Dragoon Shocking Set, which has a lot of bonuses. 7% accuracy, 5 damage, 140 pip conversion. All 3 of these are really good. So having 3 pieces is a big deal. And it's a big loss if you were to switch out of these. The new sets, or the new gear, has no sets. There's no gear sets on any of these for any school. So keep that in mind. But let's move on to the robes. I'm definitely not going to be equipping any of these, but they do give the new cards. So I guess we'll take a look at that for Storm at least. Dog Tracy is 3 pips, does 130 damage, 50 heal over time to self for 3 to 5 rounds. Okay. I think that's what that means. So Dog Tracy is for Storm. Have we seen all these other ones? They're all 3 pips. This one does 105, steal a pip. So these are, I didn't even click that one. These are no PvP. But yeah, they have all these little spells you could use. Basically the same spells that we had from, I mean, they're not the same spells that we had in Lemuria because they do different things. I personally liked the Stallion Quartermain one because it gave you the double pip gain. This one's cool because it goes Berserk to Frenzy, Frenzy to Rage. And Rage is basically Frenzy without the drawback where you take more damage. So Mandar, this one's good. And then Solomon, there's that. Then we'll look at this one just to complete the whole set. 1 pip to your whole team. So yeah, those are the new spells that are offered by the robes. I don't think the robes are that great. I would never equip this on my Storm, but maybe for other schools. What does the ice one give in terms of health? 1600 health, 20 resist. So I'm sure some schools will use these. Where's the life one? Where's that? There's a life one. I could maybe compare that to the Jade Robe and see how much better that is and consider upgrading it, just because it does give a ton of health, 1700 for life, which is more than ice. So the life one gives the most health out of all these. I like that. Maybe I'll consider it. But yeah, not in my storm. So let's move on to the boots. Go through all of these. I see a balance prism in there. And then here's a storm one. So we get less health on this one as well. You get 1% power pip, same resist. I don't care about the healing. You get a little bit more shadow rating, less crit because crit isn't as important, and you get 4 more damage. You will be losing out on the all-powerful spells from the Dragoon boots though. That's a big deal. These, Sharpen and the Potent, super useful. So I will miss those if I switch to it. Supercharged though, 12% per pip, self only, is the card there. So these ones, I mean, at the end, I will go over my little notepad that I made that compares all the stats, and I'll give you guys my opinion. But as it stands, it might look like a upgrade, but it's really not if you take into consideration the set bonus. So we'll go over that at the end, but yeah, let's move on to the wands just so we can kind of get through all the gear. And then I'll go over if I actually would switch to this. Here's a storm one. It's 19 shadow rating. Yes, there's more damage on this, but if you look at the Fossil Warrior set bonus, I'm getting 6 from that. So pretty much you could say my wand gives me 28 damage. So obviously not even close to 24, which is offered from this new wand. But you get more. Actually, no, you don't get more of the pip conversion. I was about to say you get 214 on the new one, and I already have 240. So yeah, this is not better than what I'm using. Okay, moving on to the Athames. So Athames on my storm have always been weird because yes, I could get an absolute ton of health, and I feel like that's what they're doing to try to get people to switch to these Athames. Is the health increases are crazy. If you compare the Aphrodite Storm of Thorns to the health of the new one, it's insane. I would get like 800 extra health, which that's a lot. And I would get block. I mean, block isn't important. And I would also get plus 20 damage, which is extra 2 damage. Could come in handy. But you lose out on a super important stat, and that's power pip. All they have to do on these Athames is put a plus 10% power pip chance, and I would equip this. I would. And that's because my current Athame doesn't have a set, so I would switch out for it if I could get the same power pips that I have now. Currently, you can't do that. I feel like they did this on purpose, where they made it so that you don't get the power pip, and I'm not willing to sacrifice that. If I equip this, I would not have 100% power pip. So, not doing that. I do like the amulets. They are an increase from the ones that we saw in Caramel. So I'll probably go for this on my life, just because it's always nice to have extra resist, more health, get some block too. And I think they give an extra square socket than what they used to. I'm not sure about that. I'd have to compare it on my life, but I mean, compared to Dragoon, it gives an extra square. So here is the comparison. I would equip this one if I didn't have the set bonus, because it is an upgrade. You get extra 2 resist, get some extra health. So pretty good. I like the amulets. Let's move over to the rings. Here are all the rings that you can get. And down to the storm one. So you get more health. You get more outgoing healing. Okay. You actually get more crit on this one. A little bit more crit. And way less damage if you compare it to my executive ring for level 138. What's nice is obviously you get an extra tier slot. You get a circle slot, so you could equip other jewels, which this one people might consider if they value the circle slot more than damage. Because if you switch to this, you're gonna have 4 less damage than what I'm currently using. I mean, the executive ring, I don't know why, but these rings give 18 damage, which is crazy. But if I switch to the new one, then I would have 4 less damage, but I could equip more Pierce. I could have way more health. So if you value that, you could switch to this. I'm not going to, because I still value damage. Even though damage isn't as crazy of a stat as it used to be, I still think it's important. So I still go for as much damage as possible. So there's a lot of decks because they give you the options for all the different jewel slots. You get tier, square, and triangle for each school. So I'm just going to quickly go over these. And then here is the triangle. So I'm still using the executive insulated box. The executive gear dropped from Caramel was really good. I'm not sure if there's any equivalent gear like the executive gear in Caramel that drops in Lemuria. I would have to check the bazaar or something, but as it stands for the crafted gear, this is definitely not an upgrade compared to what I'm using, because you get a little extra crit but less health. You don't get the pip conversion. I feel like pip conversion is actually important now. It's a decent stat to have, so don't think this one is worth it. Maybe some people think it's worth it if you want to go for those stats, but yeah, for me, I like the executive stuff. You know, the executive ring and the executive deck are really good. I will not be switching to that. So that's all the gear that you can get from Lemuria. I mean, maybe there's some other, maybe we'll check out the bazaar. I don't know if people have sold stuff in the bazaar and test run. We could check, but as it stands, I would not switch to this. And I'm just speaking from my storm, looking at my stats, comparing it to this, and seeing what I would lose. I would not switch to it. I mean, maybe some people are going to switch to this and be like, oh, I need that ring, or I need that theme, or whatever. And maybe that's going to work for them. But for me, I did the comparisons. If I were to switch out all my Dragoon gear, every piece, for this new gear, I would end up with a little bit more health, about 50 more health, a little bit more power pip, 102 power pip compared to what I have. So let's see my power pip. I would have 102 power pip. That's good. Minus 9% accuracy. That would put me at 31. 31 accuracy means I could fizzle some of my shadow spells. That is not a good thing at all. I'm not willing to go for that. And this is only if I replace Dragoon gear. If I replace this, I wouldn't even have 100% power pip. So I would have less accuracy and less power pip. That is not worth it to me. But let's go back to just replacing Dragoon gear only. I would have 31 accuracy. Not good. Unless you never use some of those shadow spells, including the new one, which is 65%. Let's go check that out. 65 for this. All the new ones are 65. Rusalka, basically every single shadow spell is 65. So, and Sign of Storm is 65. So if you never use those spells, then I guess you could do that. But I feel like more accuracy is still good. You would also gain 8 shadow rating. Gain 8 shadow rating. You would lose crit rating. Not a big deal anymore, but I would lose like 50 crit rating. I would gain 2 damage. Insane. 2 damage. I would gain 1 pierce, which, where's pierce? Armor piercing is over here. 18 pierce is what I'd be at. And then you lose a little bit of block and you get 2 resist. So I'd be at 31 resist. So I just comparing these stats, it's like, man, you were working really hard to get all this gear for very little in actual rewards. So those are the stats that I would have if I switched out all Dragoon gear. That would be my helmet, my boots, and the amulet. If I switched out all those things, then those are the stats that I would get. And really not that great. So yeah, I don't think I would be doing that. I look at this and there's some stuff I would probably switch out on my life. But for my storm, for hitting schools, I'm not really sure if people are going to be going for this. I mean, maybe some people will, but let's go ahead and check out the bazaar. I'll turn on my sound effects again. But yeah, I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not sure if all of that is worth the effort, because to craft those, you have to farm the final boss for all those reagents. You have to run around Lemuria and collect those statue reagents, which are just kind of scattered around the world. Putting that much effort into farming for such little reward, I just don't see it. But let's go ahead and look in the bazaar if there's anything that's better than executive. So we need to look at 150. Actually, it'd be 148. Is there anything in terms of like the rings? Is there any 148 rings that are better than executive? That would be an actual improvement. See, they're only plus 12. Supreme Science Ring. Is Supreme the highest? Probably is. So I don't know what happened with the drops in Caramel, but yeah, they have not done anything beyond executive. So not seeing it. What about Dex? Are there any improvements for the Dex? Let's see. Is there a Storm one in here? Not seeing it. Could compare fire. These don't even give crit. Maybe there's level 148 decks out there. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not seeing it. So I don't know. The gear for Lemuria is different. It's not quite how it was in Caramel, where you could farm bosses and get the super good executive gear. And even the final gear, crafted or dropped, you can get it dropped from the final boss if you want, is also not an upgrade. So I just don't see myself farming the boss over and over again, getting those reagents to craft this. Maybe some people will. I'll probably go on my life and maybe get the robe if it's good. Maybe I'll go for the amulet. I know the amulet is going to be an upgrade. And I don't know. I don't feel like the decks are an improvement. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of all this stuff. If you think the gear is worth going for. I just feel like Dragoon, like they made Dragoon gear so good. And the set bonuses, you can't beat the set bonuses. If they want to make this gear good, they need to add a set bonus. And then it could be something worth going for. But the set bonuses for Dragoon, this is so good. You can't beat this. You can't beat 7 accuracy, 5 damage, 140 pip conversion. And then I'm also running Falsa Warrior set bonus, you know, 6 damage. It's just, yeah, the set bonuses made this so it's difficult to transition out of it unless the gear is just that much better, and it's not. Keep in mind that things could change. This is still test realm. I'm not sure. Maybe they'll add a set bonus at some point, but probably not. So let me know what you guys think of that. If you enjoyed this video, if it was helpful, leave a like on it, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all next time.